On page 376, Schillinger criticises what he calls the descriptive method of music analysis and suggests that the essence of his approach is to reveal, using mathematics, the general properties of musical behaviour. So he calls chords assemblages of pitch units, and the subject of voice leading the study of transformations of chordal functions. In this illustration, a well-known piano accompaniment by Schubert, which is a series of block chords, is presented on the left-hand side. The middle voice of this chord progression is extracted and presented on the right-hand side, so that you can see how every chord progression has a melodic component. The subject of voice leading has implications far beyond the typical chorale-type exercise that Schillinger is criticising. Orchestration, texture and density are dimensions of almost all ensemble music. The arrangement of a chord, its registration, can be controlled by circular permutation of the chord functions. Reading anti-clockwise round the circle and then arranging the functions as though from the top to the bottom of the chord yields closed arrangements. Reading clockwise round the circle and then arranging the functions as though from the top to the bottom of the chord yields open arrangements. In the following example, a sequence of 3 chords is gradually built up. Each voice, starting on its own function 1, 3 or 5, moves in a clockwise transformation. In the music example, the chord progression is repeated 3 times, each time with a new layer or voice added. Next, the same 3 chords are built up, but this time each voice, starting on its own function, moves in a clockwise progression around the circle. In the music example, the chord progression is repeated 3 times, each time with a new layer or voice added. You might be thinking that this last illustration was an example of simple tonal inversion, that the same harmony, C major, was simply turned around on itself. And you'd be right. But from this very rational approach, it's possible to create numerous voice leading patterns for any type of chord, whilst preserving the independence or coherence of the individual parts. What's more, the process can be extended to generate root progressions. Voice leading and root progressions are directly connected, 2 sides of the same coin. Transformations can drive root progressions. If one simply assigns chord functions to a melody, a root progression will be implied. So, for example, if I take the notes C, E and G and assign chord functions in advance, I have automatically generated a root progression. The simplest kind of voice leading can be seen in 2-part harmony. The functions in 2-part harmony could be generalized as being either function A or function B. And there are only 2 alternative methods of voice leading. Either function A of the first chord becomes function A of the second chord, a case of parallel voice leading, or function A of the first chord becomes function B of the second. This second kind of voice leading is called alternate voice leading. As you can see, each voice swaps functions in a kind of dance. And it's this dance-like movement that binds the voices together into something more than just a harmonic progression. In this way, two parts can be given to two quite different instruments and be made to move and act together as some kind of unit. And in this way, voice leading becomes part and parcel of orchestration. In three-part harmony, the number of voice leading options increases. Parallel voice leading, where all parts move together like synchronized swimmers, is the simplest. Parallelism is striking and effective, but it's also rigid and inhibits the individuation of parts. With three chord functions, a clockwise and anti-clockwise mode of voice leading is possible. Alternatively, one of the three functions can remain unchanged while the other two alternate. In the case of constant 3, this has a rather striking concertina-like effect as the succeeding chords expand and contract in their ambit. Coefficients of recurrence or simply intuition can be used to create voice-leading journeys that profoundly affect the texture and the melodic flow of the music.